Hello and welcome to month 3 of our 2023 $5 Quilt Club. We will be doing foundation paper piecing. This month all 4 of our templates are the same, so I will show you how to just do the one template and then I'll show you how to assemble them. So there'll be 2 videos this month. So we are going to start with our fabric. You will have 1 strip of black, 1 strip of one red, and another strip of another red. So you will have 2 reds and a black. So these templates are color coded. If your printer works nicely, these 2 should be different colors. But on my printer, it doesn't look so hot. So they are one, and try to keep it consistent. So you want to put, all of the B's. I'm sorry, not B's. All of the B1/D1, A1, C1, all of those will be the same red, unless you want to change it, I guess. But when you look at the overall pinwheel effect, you will have alternating fabric placement. So whichever one you use, so there's 2 triangles here, whichever one you use as for this triangle, make it sure it's the same throughout the whole one. So because these ones are done, they are not. So they are done this way so that you can see that this is half the block, like like that. So you'll have 1 red here, so light, dark, light, dark. That way you get a nice alternating placement and you get that pinwheel look. So I have roughly cut out my foundation templates. There are 4 of the exact same templates. So we are going to go ahead and get piecing. So I'll show you how to do just the one, and then I'll show you assembly. So piece number 1 is the red. So the one that has this strip on the bottom, I'm going to use that one. I'm going to use it as the lighter red. This is our darker red. So I'm just going to put the fabric upside down and really roughly cut out enough fabric here to cover that shape. So that's my D1 right there. And then I need to do this bottom part here. So I already have a piece really roughly cut out for that. So, oops, I'm gonna show you. So whenever you start sewing foundation paper piecing, make sure you reduce your stitch length to about 1.5, 1.6. If you have glue, it's really fantastic. That way you can just put a dab of glue on the back, and then you can position your fabric over the top to make sure that it stays in place. When you hold this up to the light, you should be able to see at least 1/4 inch on all sides that fabric piece is covering. So once that is established that it's larger, then you can fold your template on your sewing line. So since we're going to be sewing from D1 to D2, I'm going to crease that, fold it over, and then I'm going to trim this to be 1/4 inch so that I can have a nice perfect line for that to be lined up to. So there's that, and it's glued so it stays in place. So here's my shape, right? This does not go that way. Solids are awesome because there's no right or wrong side. So now I can easily line this up. Ta-da! And I can see that on all sides of my shape there is 1/4 inch. That way I know that it's nice. So if you do not have a big, large workspace to hold, so that you can just press everything down and hold it in place, pin these or clip it to make sure that your fabric's not moving when you go to sew. And we are going to be sewing through that seam allowance. So I'm going to start before the seam allowance and just stitch all the way on that line, just keeping it straight on the line, and then I'm going to go a tad past the line, maybe 4 stitches, and cut my threads. So here we go, foundation paper pieced, everything looks awesome. And we are going to, it's always best to use a hot iron to really press that to make sure that that seam gets nice and flat. If you do not do that and you avoid you skip the pressing step, what can happen is, not in this block in particular, but other blocks, if you do not press that all the way down, your points won't line up because you have the little bit of a you have a little bit of a fold before the seam. So we do not want that to happen. So you want to press that with a nice hot iron. If you want to just really nicely, if you want to spend more time finger pressing, you can do that too. But make sure that that is nice and flat. And also before you cut any of your pieces, this is horribly embarrassingly wrinkly. Please press and starch your fabric before you cut or start sewing, because it is so much nicer. Because I'm on a time crunch and I don't have a full setup here. I do not have these pressed, so it's going to be a little bit harder for me to have a beautiful block. So that is my recommendation. Okay, so next block we're going to be doing is D3. So I'm going to fold along this line here. And then, so I'm going to rip the paper away, just get a nice crease line there, and then I move the ruler, and then I can fold it flat. Okay, so I'm going to use my larger one. If you have an add a quarter ruler, oh my gosh, are they nice, because it just sits right across there, and you don't have to try to worry about this slipping when you go to line it up. Okay, so there is my 1/4 inch. Looks so good. Okay, now we're going to use the other red. So I'm going to put my fabric right side down. Put my, I'm going to put this way so that you can see this is the right angle of my triangle here. And that's what I want to be cutting here. Sorry, I'm going to do it this way. Okay, so right angle of the triangle. I want to make sure that there's a 1/4 inch on all sides, and that's where I want to cut. I'm going to use a ruler so I don't cut my block, because that would not be fun. Okay, so now I have, a grossly larger piece, which is what we want. The most common error in paper piecing is cutting a piece that's too small. So there's plenty of fabric in your kit. You can definitely get that to cover this area. So right sides together, right? Line it up with that nice perfect 1/4 inch we already cut. And just for second, checking, this is the piece that I'm going to be sewing right here. I don't know if you can see this little bit of ghosting. So I want to make sure that there is enough fabric on all sides of the triangle, because triangles can get tricky because once you fold them back, you are like, oh my gosh, it's enough fabric, and then it's not, and it's no fun. Okay, so everything is nice there. If you do not have a large workspace, again, you want to pin this, because this is so large and easy to use. I can just hold everything down without pinning it. So I'm going to stitch along this line here, and that's going a little slow. I'm standing and I don't have a foot pedal plugged in, so bear with me. Okay, straight through the seam allowance, right here and right here. So I started kind of funny, but that's okay. I'm gonna trim that off, right? Okay, so now we have our last one. So when you do finger press, try not to stretch too much of the fabric, because it can distort and cause a lot of bubbling later, which is no fun, because we don't want to have any folds that are stitched down, no pleats. Okay. So next one, I'm gonna put my ruler right on that edge there to get a good seam. Rip the paper if you have to. Well, you will have to. Okay, move the ruler, and then I can fold that nice and flat. And then I'm going to line this up to cut a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So now I have a nice perfect area for that to be. And since these are color coded, you know that this color needs to be black. So we're going to grab some black fabric, and we are going to cut a triangle from here that will be nice and perfect for this corner. And I do not want to cut my block. So I'm just going to measure that like that, and again, grossly overestimate how much fabric I need for that triangle. So that looks fantastic. Put them right sides together, line up my 1/4 inch here with this nice perfect line we cut. Do your double check, make sure that you have enough fabric on all sides of your piece that you're trying to cover. And so everything looks perfect. So now I'm just gonna hold it in place, slide it over to the sewing area and stitch down. All right. So that's how you do the one. And you're just gonna do that 3 more times. So fun. And press that to be nice. So we will be back with assembly.